What would you like to do?
Oh yeah,
what
which would you prefer?
Or Bigfoot?
Ghosts.
You really okay?
Well, I mean, all right.
Spook
You
me
didn't
up,
wanna do that,
baby.
it's fine.
No. I mean, like either way. One reason.
I don't know anything about Bigfoot at all.
Also, dude, this is completely
Except Nessie, but
not
she's
totally
kind of the
off.
Scottish. The Scotland!
She's not the Scot. Nessie is not the
Well,
Scottish.
Loch Ness Monster, it's like the swamp Bigfoot.
Big flipper.
Yeah, that's Ursula.
Have you ever heard of the swamp? Or the skunk
That's gotta
ape?
be a good idea.
You ever heard of the skunk ape?
No.
So that's basically the Bigfoot of Florida, and it's called the skunk ape
I
because
thought it would have
it's
been a gator.
nasty. They probably do
The
have like,
crocafoot.
I wonder if they do have like it's just like I just saw an 80-foot long
Well, crocodiles
crocodile.
aren't native to
That's what.
Florida.
Yeah, but neither's Bigfoot.
But alligators are.
Crocafoot.
Alafoot. Or the
You don't
gator
know
foot.
that. Plenty
Or
of
the
Bigfoot, all
fader.
types of subspecies.
Lord Fader. No? Yeah. I'll work on it. Alligators. Bigfoot. Alligators. Fader.
Bigfoot
Lord
alligators.
Fader. No? All right.
Wow. Wowza. All right, ladies and
Jeez,
gentlemen.
Inspector
Oh,
Gadget.
but the thing I was gonna ask. So I got the Project Blue Book as of today again from the library.
Oh,
so
the
for Lonnie Zamora's thing. Do you want me to like record a dramatic telling of it so we don't have to actually retell it? We can just play that and then discuss.
yeah, if you want to, or you could just like you just give me the recording and then we just like we
Yeah.
talk about it. We stop the recording, we listen to the thing, and then we'd be like, whoa.
Yeah,
That would be an interesting format to
it'd
do.
be a weird format
different-
change, but
Well,
now
I'm
that I
down
have
to do
mild
format.
recording abilities at
like-
home, I'm kind of just having fun with it.
Well, right, because one of the ones that I've got, because I was expecting us to do one like right after Christmas kind of thing. So I have a lot of lore about Krampus and stuff, and
Oh,
it's
okay.
kind of fun. And I have a little, like a spooky anecdote that because I
Oh.
can't find any like actual stories that people are like,
Since they're from the 1500s and such.
well, because Krampus is most definitely more just like, we like, it's a basically
Don't be bad.
yeah.
Krampus will eat you.
Yeah, right. And it's just because they've just smashed like paganism and what's it called together, Christianity together, and they're like, well, what do we do with this?
We just smashed paganism, and now we're gonna move on to the rest of the market.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's So they're like, well, what if we just we'll compromise here.
Oh, my God.
All right, my man.
I do. Hold on.
Are you ready though?
I just want to say, if I could get podcast equipment and be like every serious discussion I have to have with somebody, like a person I'm having a conflict with, I'd want to do it over a podcast. It sounds amazing.
Yeah, I mean,
All right, guys.
that's the good thing. You
let's
get
into it. You can really listen to people. Like really listen.
That's
Like Gross would be like, you don't listen to me. Let's get podcast.
You'd be like, you don't listen to me. It's like, all right,
Here we
you're
go.
gonna need to put these on.
5, 4. No.
You pull the arms out from under the table and just start angling them up.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the podcast that never sleeps, Skeptical Eye for the Paranormal Guys. Today we got Austin and our new buddy, Steven. Not even new buddy, but new to the podcast.
New buddy, fresh out the womb, never
Yeah.
seen.
Never seen anything.
Nah, dog. And today we've chosen ghosts.
Goo goo ga ghosts.
I don't. Yep. No, got nothing for that. Boo.
Well,
Boo,
what do you
boo.
think about?
Oh.
What do you think about
The
curses?
ethereal. The curses. I thought we were talking ghosts.
We are talking ghosts, but ghost curses. Curses that involve spooky things.
So you mean
Paranormal.
specifically like a haunting?
Like James Dean's car being cursed after he died.
Actually, about like
No, much scarier.
so you're about a ghost in the sense that they exist, or just like, oh, these curses from this house or this car or this thing that you got.
Where are we gonna find out?
Holy shit! You wrote all this out?
Some of
Sorry, cancel that out.
it. Yep.
I love when
Right.
he writes it out and then he tells me to read it.
That looks amazing.
I mean,
No,
you
no.
could. Would you like?
Wait, did
oh
you
no,
type it out?
I have. So these are notes, and this is a typed out like
Oh, you see,
blow
the
by
typed
blow.
out's fine. The typed out's fine.
motherfucker.
Would you
This.
like to?
Dude, you were ingenious.
Would you like to read the thing?
You want me to read this?
No, I don't want you.
No,
to
I'm
read
just
this
gonna
thing.
keep-
Mostly because like I could just before the words come out and you're reading it, you're gonna be scoffing, and I'm just gonna have to.
And also, you haven't had your weed this week, so oof.
Hey, it's
dude,
all
you're
right.
you're. I gotta be careful. with
Dude,
you.
he's waiting tomorrow. Oh, the floodgates.
No, no.
No, he says he's done, man. And I can
Oh,
tell you
'cause
right
he-
now. Did
it's
you not hear
because
the
he wants-
snaps that he had today? Oof. snaps for Austin.
It's because you want out.
I really want to get out of this job. Oh, my Lord.
I mean, all right.
Which is good for us. Sorry.
No, I appreciate that you're doing that, but it hurts my soul.
It's my soul, too.
Hey, don't
And
worry.
he doesn't even smoke.
Don't worry,
True.
man. It's time to get an amphetamine or cocaine habit, man.
Dude,
that's
amphetamine is
all
the
the
way-
businessmen are still doing cocaine. The 80s may have been the peak, but it's still the go-to. Now it's just fancy.
Rock and roll.
Oh, yeah. Hey, speaking of white dust, tell me about these apparitions and their trace remnants.
Well, let's take this back. Because, I said ghosts. It's a paranormal story, but this story is actually kind of creepier than you would think.
Okay.
And let me explain why.
Love
So
it.
let me take you. I'm going to take you in on a little journey.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Like the
Which
band.
journey?
All right.
I'm only a fan of a couple albums.
Well, it's this is the mysterious death of Christopher Case.
The mysterious case of Christopher Case's death?
I literally have. Well, my title for this is. It kind of give away the story.
Well, then don't tell us. Then tell us the story.
Well, I just like the subtitle is "Case Closed." That's all I'm saying.
Oh, myth busted.
He died.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a paranormal guy, skeptical eye thing.
Now, obviously, all right. So, let me take you back. So, on April 18th of 1991, the Seattle police gained entry into the apartment of one Christopher Case. A day earlier, they had been contacted by a concerned friend of Chris's who had ordered a welfare check on him. Now, when police arrived the first
They waited
time...
a day?
What?
Oh, okay. Never mind. Sorry. You were as I started my
Yeah.
phrase. You keep.
Don't worry. Yeah, so when police arrived the first time, they found the apartment locked with no signs of movement within, leaving to return the following day after a follow-up welfare call. As they, so the scene at the apartment they were met with on the 18th was chilling, to say the least. Many of the investigators found a lot of disturbing things within the apartment. First
Oh
off...
my God, he collected My Little Ponies, huh? 1991. Those were like a decade old by then. Those were vintage 80s ponies.
Yeah, we're getting to that. Now, Christopher's body was found in his apartment in a waterless tub, fully clothed and kneeling, with his head slumped against the shower wall. His body
See,
shined...
I'm always scared of slipping and falling in the shower, and that's why. Somebody's going to find me in the tub, knocked the hell out.
You're going to find out why it's so spooky.
Oh, okay.
Now, his body showed no signs of foul play, and no fatal exterior wounds were discovered. In fact, Rich Garner of the King County Medical Examiner's Office stated that there were no signs of robbery or struggle. It was also corroborated
I'm
by...
not expecting to get robbed in the shower. I'm expecting to fall and break my neck or something.
He was also clothed in the shower.
I mean...
And it was waterless, so,
sometimes you get sad.
it's very strange. But this is...
Waterless shower?
Yeah. No, there was no water. Like,
yeah,
he
man,
hadn't
it's
been...
just like a big old pneumatic air pump. Just
Yeah. When they found him, he was in a tub. His, bathroom, no water was, in the tub or anything
just
like
normal clothes.
Yeah, just normal. They never said what the clothes were exactly. Anyway, so the King
I'm gonna
County
imagine
Medical
he was
Officer...
in a full suit. Keep going.
Well, the King County Medical Examiners basically were just like, all right, we don't see any signs of, foul play, even though what they found inside the house was very disturbing. His body was the least disturbing element of the whole scene, in fact. So surrounding the corpse in the tub were candles burned down to the wick's end. Salt had been poured along every surface and wall edge of the entire bathroom, and salt, some of the piles were built up in the corners. And that was just in the bathroom. There were spent candles, geometric salt lines, crucifixes, and religious imagery all throughout the entire apartment. Perhaps the most disturbing of all these were small handwritten notes and messages made by this man, Christopher Case, with incantations and mantras aimed at warding off demons and evil spirits.
Oh, see, he got the iodized salt, huh? That's not going to do it.
It's like,
Gotta
oh
get the
no!
kosher stuff.
Or the Himalayan sea. It's like all pink Himalayan salt. It's like, man, those hippies got it right. What do you think about that so far?
Just keep going.
Yeah.
I'm listening
He
here.
drops
Is
a
it
couple of
interesting?
his
I'm on the
salt
edge of my
lamps.
seat here.
All right, so despite the strange portrait painted of this man's final hours inside of this unassuming Seattle apartment, the coroner's office determined that Christopher Case's death was the result of natural causes. However, his concerned friends and family would soon push back with the creepiest and oddest turn of events, leading up to only a week before his passing.
Now.
So initially, let's just go. I'm going to read you an article from
Twitter?
the Seattle. I believe it's a Seattle
Those aren't
Times.
articles. Those are
I do have.
terrible shorthand opinions.
50 characters, man.
All right, so this is the.
That's all you need for an article.
Well, actually, you know what? Never mind. I'm not even going to take you to the. We'll do that afterwards. We don't need to look at the articles because the articles give away the story, if to say the least.
Gives away the story, like the ending's already been found out.
I mean, what?
Why are we discussing that?
All right. So anyway,
Because salt's scary.
This is not Casper. Sorry.
so obviously, okay. So Christopher Case, he was found dead in his apartment with odd circumstances, religious imagery, such and such.
Why would you think that was ghosts, though?
I don't know.
Why not demonic possession? Like, that sounds way more likely with salts in a geographical, not geo, no, what is it?
Geometrical?
Thank you, Jesus
Yes.
Christ.
And
Geometric.
a topographical alignment of crucifixes.
Yeah, that sounds
and
like way
such.
more like a religious act than it would be a paranormal act. Paranormal would be like, oh, we dropped the toothbrush on the floor. We slit your throat with a knife.
What?
We
Blood
opened
gooed
two
out
cabinets
over.
and then dropped an apple.
It's not
going to
be like, oh, we slit your wrist so that you could
Left.
draw a map of the United States with your blood on the floor. Like,
That'd be pretty good.
Yeah,
I mean, that
been-
would be pretty
that'd be
Christopher
like-
Case was
Here's
found in
where
his
the crime
bathtub
was.
with a very accurate map of the U.S. drawn in his own blood
and
at the bottom of
apparently
the tub.
where he was killed in Colorado, Sedalia specifically, highlighted with the most concentrated red blood cells.
What?
What?
No,
I
that got a
don't
little
know.
more technical at the end there.
Yeah.
I should stop letting you guys just go off on your little tangents there. Anyway, so this
You
man
asked
was.
me, by the way.
I did. You're right. You're right. I
I was
did.
listening, Conley.
And so his friends were very concerned, leading up to his death, and all those circumstances made the cops very wary.
Was he a LARPer?
Did he play video games?
But we'll get into it. Well, so it was 1991 first,
Was
so
he a
there was
LARPer?
no.
So the Atari.
He was not a LARPer, but I will get into his background. So before we get into it, where what were undoubtedly the final tragic and petrifying days of Christopher Case's existence, we should discuss his life up to that point.
Okay.
Now, Christopher Case had been born and raised on the east coast of the United States in Richmond, Virginia.
Oof.
I got family in Richmond.
Founding father.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Pearson's in the Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually pretty cool. But that has nothing to do with the story.
No.
As a child and into adulthood, Chris always had an affinity for music. This would lead him to pursue a job in his hometown of Richmond as a local radio DJ. He also loved physical fitness and was quoted as being a fitness zealot.
Quote, getting yoked with
Yeah.
demons, bro.
Yeah, what up?
Yeah, he's yoked. Steven, you can actually, there's some stuff in here that you might be able to talk about here. Anyway, he took care of his body regularly, used vitamins and supplements and such. He was well liked by his friends and colleagues, although he was more of an introverted character, rather electing to spend his time lost in music or in his work. Now, this would lead him to remain single for most of his life. However, he didn't seem to mind that, as he had
incel.
but this man, so he wasn't against being single, mostly because he had very particular interests. And one of these passions was for ancient music from places such as the Mediterranean, but specifically ancient Egypt. It says in here, I have a little
Me
like,
too, man. I love Nile.
it has like a little thing where it's like, insert musical example.
Sabenya. And yeah, oh.
Enya was here.
That was Africa, not the Nile.
I'm saying, hey man, I only know so much of the Lion King song.
I think that was the main one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The circle of life.
Oh, shit. Yeah, that's the next one. Yeah, for sure.
And it moves the show. And that's all I got. I don't
It
even
wasn't
know if that's the right
Africa.
note.
He had the tree with Rafiki and the safari and all that. There's like hyenas and stuff.
And they blessed the rains and
They
all
did.
that.
So everybody gets a little taste of the...
Oh, I thought,
Is this
I
Nile?
thought he was British.
This literally could be the intro to your Nile song still.
Sounds like every music ever given massage. Just like, ooh, man.
Anyhow, so yes, he had a
I
very
can dig.
specific interest in ancient Egyptian music. Let me just turn
I've
that
actually been reading
sucker.
about how
This
a
is
lot
exactly
of
the
different
kind of music you would
societies,
wrap yourself
we
up.
assume they had drum instruments, but we don't have evidence of it, and they're trying to figure out if that's just because they were all made of leather and animal parts and they
But
didn't
they're all
last,
trying to, like,
or what.
Control vipers in little boxes
What?
with a flute thing.
See,
Oh,
now we're in
you-
India.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, not
That's
to be
the
insensitive.
snake charmers. And you know that it's actually the movement and not the actual snake charming flute.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, the flute is actually just
What was
all
that?
for show.
The flute's to entertain us. That
What was that
E-
particular-
Egyptian
I was just
music.
trying to show you like a little example
I know,
of the
what kind
type
of
of music
instrument
he
is
was
it?
in.
I
I
mean-
think there is an Egyptian horn and a little plucky do.
A plucky do.
Yeah, basically a guitar thing. I'll
like a
I'll
harp?
figure that
I
out.
think it's
I'll
harp.
put that in the show notes.
An Egyptian, they should have really coined that.
We're getting
Plucky do.
sidetracked. I'm gonna run us back into he liked Egyptian music.
What if we want to talk about the plucky do?
It's the Egyptian harp. They
Yeah,
didn't
exactly. Well, I
have
mean,
copyright rights back then.
And here in the tomb we found 2 Egyptian plucky doos. Sorry, keep going.
no, yeah. So after spending majority of his 20s and early 30s doing radio, gaining an appreciation for exotic music, and getting into shape, Chris made a move to the city of Seattle to begin works as a music executive for Muzak Holdings.
Wait, like old school, like Muzak, like
Muzak
the background
holding.
Muzak
Yeah.
from the 50s?
Yes,
Like
I was-
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so-
He's doing the
Egyptian-
worst music.
Egyptian music, plucky doos to Seattle, Washington.
Yeah, well, no, that's just his
Muzak.
passion.
The Rainbow Road.
Muzak.
That's
Muzak.
like if Austin decided to get like a job at the radio, but he really, really had a passion for Nile music.
I think he does.
Yeah, he does. This could be you, Austin. So for a time, Christopher Case, settled into his new role as a music executive, seemingly on top of the world in terms of health and success. He's got a good job at this Muzak Holdings. He's doing what he wants. He's like in his early 30s. So while he was out in Seattle, however, he kept in contact with a majority of his friends back on the East Coast. Because he just moved out there for a new job.
If you're going to party, might as well do it at the East Coast.
Yeah, except he was an introvert. Remember, that comes into play.
If you're
Doesn't
going
matter
to
if you're on
party,
drugs, bro.
might as well do it with Egyptian music alone while talking to your friends on the East Coast.
And anyway, so one of the friends back on the East Coast, though, that he knew was a very close friend named Sammy Sauter.
I thought you were about to say Sosa.
Sosa,
and I was like,
yeah.
this twist I'm not ready
shit.
for. I was not
This
ready.
got so much more interesting. There's Sammy Sosa.
You're right.
Longtime boy dream of baseball.
Now on to the days leading up to Christopher Case's untimely death. So we kind of get the overall picture. This guy was like, in his early 30s.
He was an Egypt nerd, kind of an introvert,
Became
but
an
he was
EDM
doing very
DJ.
well.
Yeah.
And he just moved to Seattle to work for the worst, best music company.
Yeah. But that was
Not
all
to
about to
last.
come
The
crashing down.
Muzak dream never lasts.
Casper
So-
was not so friendly.
In April of 1991, Chris was the ripe old
Casper,
age
the
of
bitter music critic.
35.
Oh.
Shit.
He was still doing very well in his career, as well as both physical and mental health at the time, according to all friends and family. That same month, as a part of his music executive work, though, Chris had traveled to San Francisco to conduct business on behalf of the company.
Oh man, he met up with Aleister Crowley.
During the end of his time in San Francisco, he crossed paths with an enchanting older woman.
She's a witch.
Aleister
They ended up
Crowley.
going out on the evening of April the 11th.
Callista
Enchanting
Crowley.
older women. This is a setup,
Enchanting
man.
older woman.
She had a cauldron.
The sources split here slightly. By some accounts, he met this woman through mutual introduction by friends in the music industry.
Pornhub.
Other sources seem to vaguely indicate that they just happened upon each other while he was out in San Francisco, and just met independently during the business trip. So, nevertheless,
So he met his sugar mama.
Was she much older? Is that what it said?
so by his
Well, he's
accounts,
35, so
yeah, but by his account, she was at least 20-something.
Holy
his
shit,
senior.
50.
So,
What a
okay, so yeah,
dog.
so he met a sugar mama.
What a case. No. All right, cool. You can delete that.
I got you. I got it.
Okay, so
50 something.
yeah, so so he's he's obviously sizing it up.
She was just curious in advanced burial techniques from Egypt, so her burial
Well,
could be as
here we'll
unique
get.
as she
You guys are just
Curator at the
What are you
local
guys
museum.
writing this for me? Okay.
Do you want us to blather? Or do you want us to just shut up and let you tell the story the whole time? Aren't we
tried
supposed
that.
to have fun?
I tried that, and you were like, "Hey, talk,
This is a fun
motherfucker."
podcast.
Nevertheless, the two parties hit it off right away because, oddly enough, this woman shared a niche interest in musics of the ancient world. And
She's
you
a
better
fucking
believe,
witch, man.
You
There's
better
no other-
believe she's into Egyptian music.
Oh man, I was
fucking
hoping
witch,
she was
man.
like real into Mongolian throat singing or something.
Over the
Okay.
course of the discussion on their musical interests, it dawns on him that this foxy matron is vying to put a little romantic angle on the night. Yep, going into the throat singing. So soon she becomes, kind of like, aggressive with her, yeah, she really wants to
Enchantments.
take. She wants to.
I wish
she
I could
wants to take
actually
it off.
do that.
So yeah, after making a lot of blatant advances and looking to move the meetup elsewhere, Chris, seeing that she's like 20 years as a senior, and he's just not into her.
She
she's
can't
not
get
into
pregnant.
it, and as cool as
He's just not that into you.
yeah.
Grandma.
It's like, hey, like I'm down to like jam on the Egyptian flute all day, but
I'll slide my royal ship down your Nile, but past that, I think we're good, lady.
yeah. Anyway, so the lady continued, energetically trying to
I'll
make him
bury my
reconsider.
pharaoh in your pyramid.
Oh my
but
goodness. Yep.
We should
Nope.
probably learn more about Egypt. Keep going.
Yeah. I was like, just all these Egyptologists. Like,
All these historians
this is
up
not
in
what I have
arms.
come.
We're gonna get sued.
Anyway, so Chris, of course, is just like not having it. He doesn't want to actually get, involved with this woman. So as politely as he can, he keeps having to turn her down. And basically,
so
as he starts to leave, and that's when the lady's demeanor changes completely. That personable and warm persona the woman had just melted off instantly at Chris's rejection. Abruptly, she stood up, confronting Chris as he left, declaring that she was a witch.
Wait. I have some questions.
All right.
Wait, can we ask those?
Yes.
Or do we have to wait till the end?
No, you can ask them.
Her demeanor. This story is ridiculous. Her demeanor changes. Was there like someone sitting there in the corner, just like, I'm gonna sit here and write about this. Oh, her demeanor is crazy. Is there an author just like, oh, this is a great
did they
story?
find his diary? Is he over here
Yeah.
like, unfortunately, the elderly woman who I've met and been seeing,
Well,
who was
it's
very
like,
interested
okay, I
in Egypt,
guess
has become
then we will-
very
yes.
strange, and I no longer wish to be around her. Her demeanor has darkened, and I can no longer stand
Well,
it.
remember I said that he was in contact with a lot of his friends, so he's...
Yeah, he's
Oh,
just.
so he's sending shit.
But it is like
No, it's
91, right?
91.
This lady
so they're
cray
sending
now.
fucking letters or what?
No,
Like,
no, he-
There's an
he
audio
Sending
tape.
pages.
There's
So-
landlines.
He's
Oh
using
my
a
goodness.
talk boy.
Anyway, okay.
Bro,
so
Home
wait,
Alone.
I guess
stuff
we
is
can't
totally
have...
cray, and then somebody's getting that page like, oh man.
No more questions. That's what's happening.
All right.
Okay, so I said that the sources split. I'm not sure exactly.
They do split.
No, I'm just saying
Back
where...
then, they didn't even have
He's
cellular
just trying to figure out
communications.
who was keeping such tally that it was
well,
like,
I'll tell you.
well,
1,000%. They sent like 8 letters. He's like, guys, I gotta fucking tell you.
Oh
all
my
what's going
goodness.
on." All right, sorry.
No, you're right. You're
Dearest
right.
mother.
These are questions that I should have gotten. I
met a woman lately. And though her advanced age had me worried at first, it seemed well. However, recently her demeanor has darkened.
All right, to pull it back from the brink yet again. So, okay, we don't know necessarily who, as far as I can tell definitively, if he met this lady via somebody he already knew in the music industry,
Or Tinder.
Christian
or
Old
it was a
Tinder.
part of a function and just somehow they happened upon each other.
raw hookups, but RA, not.
No, it was like Egyptian tours.
It's Egyptian music fans only.
Yeah, .net.
They both met up at
Wait,
the
was the internet
Tutankhamun.
back then? 91?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, where was this?
It's Seattle.
Where was the Tutankhamun exhibit that
It was
year?
in California, right?
in
where he went.
91?
It
Is that where he went?
It still traveled for a long time, so who knows?
But I mean, he only liked it was the music. It has nothing to
Okay.
do with Egyptian, most of it. She just liked Egyptian music too, and she was not happy that he left or was trying to leave. So she declared she was a witch. So you called it right there.
Yeah, what up?
Good on it.
She's old.
And that she had now cursed him,
With?
finishing with the fact that within a week's
Finishing?
time, he would be dead.
Ah.
So this lady has now allegedly just been rejected by Chris and has yelled at him in a restaurant and cursed him
Do you
in
think
front
that's
of
like
a
the worst
whole
thing
bunch
you'd
of
be
people.
cursed with? Death?
So yes, the lady claims to be a witch. She starts freaking out on poor Chris, and he's just like, you know what, I'm out of here. So, obviously, as anybody would do,
Now that my image of
Chris
him
removed
constantly
himself
as in a suit
from the
and
situation.
her as the evil witch from Wizard of Oz, it's getting better. This story is getting way better.
Yeah, so obviously with her aggressive reaction had been kind of disturbing, and the strange, threat of the death by a curse was weird. So later on, he decided to go and he called his friend over in the East Coast, Sammy,
Bro.
that I had mentioned earlier. His
Called
best
his
buddy,
friend
Yes.
in the fucking 90s?
In the
God, that
90s
was
on the
expensive.
landline.
Ah,
Well, he is
Jesus,
a music
man.
executive at.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
he's
Yeah.
at Muzak, man. They're
Okay,
big.
all right.
They're big.
He called one of his friends, Sammy Souter, like I said, about the incident. They were soon joking about the whole affair. Sammy was just like, hey, I don't think that that's a real curse. And Chris was kind of the same way. He's like, what a loon, that woman, huh? Now, the evening that with the strange woman had taken place on the 11th of April, 1991.
When did he die again?
So they entered his apartment on April 18th.
Okay, so within a week he was dead.
Yes.
From
Now
him calling Sammy Sosa.
Yeah. From then. The next day, Chris is, going to head back to his home in Washington, or Seattle, Washington. So he was in San Francisco.
Okay.
He's now flying back to
So he was dating
Seattle.
which lady in San Fran?
Yes. So after the friendly phone call, Chris hangs up with Sammy on the 12th and then just kind of slips back into everyday life until dusk on April 13th when unsettling occurrences began happening in his apartment.
Sounds like he was murdered by the witch lady.
So for the next 2 days,
Short
Christopher Case would correspond with Sammy and a few other friends in order to rationalize the experience he had begun having, and that went something like this. During the night of April 13th, and this is Chris is now calling, Chris calls his friend again, I believe on the 14th, but this is the happenings that he's experienced over the time.
Okay.
So during the night of the April 13th.
So he's still got 4 days till they find him. So at most, like 3 until he's dead, right?
Okay.
18th's when he died?
Debatable.
Or that's when they found him. So like,
Yeah,
he
but-
probably died the day before.
So during the night of April 13th, as Chris began to settle into bed, surrounded by the darkness of his apartment, he started hearing whispering coming from just outside his room in the empty living space. Obviously he begins to rationalize things, and he's like, why am I hearing this? It's just, he's also a skeptic.
Holy
by
cow.
that.
If I call this right now, it's going to be the best story we've ever done, okay? If she is living in his apartment while he's there, that'll be the best story we've had yet, because that's creepy as hell.
He's hearing these sounds, and eventually they stop. Just as he's starting to hone in on where they're coming from. He dismisses it as just ambient noise from outside leaking in, but then the voices start up again, just right outside. So now he's like, okay, is somebody in the house? So he quickly starts to search his apartment for the source of the whispering, but found nobody. Failing to discover the persons he was hearing back, he goes to his room and he starts to hear these disembodies coming out of the laundry room. So he
Disembodied
opens
voices or disembodies?
disembodied voices.
Okay.
Sorry, yeah.
I was like dismembered bodies popping out of it.
So now he's got-
that's a 1-up.
So these things are kind of moving throughout his house, and every time he kind of gets a beat on them, they start to kind of move on him. So now he's convinced himself that there's an intruder somewhere inside the house, and so he's flicked on every light, and the voices keep picking up from different sections of the house.
He's a DJ, right? Does he have a ton of audio equipment?
That's something I never thought about. We'll get into that
Okay.
just later on, because that is something. Because I have
That's
a
a fair
couple.
question,
I have
yeah.
some other theories in here that might skew it anyway. Unfortunately for Chris.
Wait, hold on. Was this solved?
So
There's
they
speculation, right?
Well, yeah, so they
have a speculated
Yeah, so
conclusion,
right
I'm
now,
sure.
I said in the beginning that the coroners overall had determined that it was natural causes. So all the lights are on at this point, and he's searched everywhere, but the voices are still kind of at it. And now it's coming from his bedroom, where he literally just left, where he had started. Unfortunately for Christopher Case, unnerved by the strange activity, he ends up getting no sleep on the 13th and going into the 14th. I'm trying to remember the days. I believe
he gets scared, and then he doesn't get sleep for 2 days.
So yeah, so at this time, from the 12th to the 14th, no one had heard from Chris since the business trip, right? So this was on the 14th. He called up Sammy, and allegedly there's an article that states that there was another woman specifically that he had contacted about this.
Samantha Sosa.
No, you're so funny. I love you guys. What are you thinking? How are you feeling, bud?
We're good, man.
Tight. Sammy had all but forgotten about their initial conversation regarding the witch's threat days before, but something had disturbed Chris enough to confide in her the experience that he'd been having in the apartment. So he was kind of freaked out. He was tripping after, having initially been like, I don't think that this is a thing, it was a weird experience. And now he's like, I'm thinking that there might be something to this curse. Sammy was still disconcerted by all of these, accounts that he was coming up with. Reputedly, during the nights previous, disembodied voices and dark human-like shapes would be seen moving from room to room in his place. So now it's upgraded. Instead of just being the sounds now, he's got visuals with it.
And he hasn't slept for 2 days.
Yeah,
He's been stressing himself
I don't know
out.
how much he slept, but he hasn't been sleeping very well.
Okay.
So the voices never stopped and would move through the house. He would see shadows and people's shapes. As the days wore on, they would become more clear and defined, I think what they were
Was
saying.
he getting a better night's sleep as the days progressed?
No,
Or
Did he
seeing a
start
trend
getting
here?
worse sleep? Because
Seeing a
that's
trend.
I was about to say.
Now-
there are some compounding factors that could be contributing.
Psychological disorders
yeah.
are real, people.
I know. So all Sammy could do was try to reassure Chris that there was likely reasonable explanations for his situation, and tried to get him to get some sleep and just to,
Here's an Ambien.
go and face it.
When did he buy the salt?
So, well, we'll get to
The
that.
candles.
So
Probably found it in his
I think
apartment.
so. The sudden shift in demeanor was quite noticeable, and Chris would confide the same information to another friend. So as the sun set on the night of the 14th into the 15th, Chris had begun wrestling with an aggressive uptick in this paranormal activity. With the plague of sleepless nights inside of his apartment, it was becoming increasingly clear to him that this curse might possibly be real. Now we jump to Tuesday, April 16th. Sammy receives another phone call from Chris. This time he was in an absolute panic. He relays to her that the night prior, he was exhausted enough that he finally was able to fall asleep. Now, sometime during the night, though, he woke up to the whispering again. But something was definitely different. He found himself unable to move, in a state akin to that of what people report as sleep paralysis, or to be sleep
I was just
paralysis.
about to say that.
yeah.
Now, the whispering was coming from directly on the other side of his door. He wakes up from, a deep sleep, I'm assuming because of how little sleep he'd been getting the nights before. So now he can't move, and he's hearing this whispering coming from directly on the other side of the door.
He just has no pets.
No.
Okay.
Only able to move his eyes, Chris listened helplessly as the voices went silent from just outside the door, and then arose from
Was there any
nearer to
words?
him.
Was it in voices?
No, it seems like it's just
Generic,
yeah.
kind of mumbo jumbo, muffled,
indistinct voices, kind of.
like being in a restaurant, listening to
Essentially, yeah, like if
conversations where you're not.
Yeah,
hunting
there's
them.
somebody
Okay.
just like right outside, just like,
Cool.
So he's only able to move his eyes and listen helplessly. Now the sounds started to arise from closer to him in his closet. And then from his closet, the voices died down and then arose from directly underneath his bed. Now,
Man, monsters under the bed.
Boogeyman.
That's a classic.
Now, mind
a
you,
boogeyman.
the shadow beings that he had been witnessing were certainly on his mind during this time. As the voices settled down, Chris described what he would say later was a black mass rise up from the side of his bed.
Like
Shadow.
like 30 people praying to Satan, or
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Like starts manifesting right
wait,
on the
like
side.
genuinely. Okay.
So,
Hell yeah.
so Chris
That
was unable
sounds
to
metal as
move,
fuck.
and he was unable to get a very good view of this thing because he was literally frozen from his account. As this thing was towering above him, it seemed to reach down and begin viciously constricting his throat. Still paralyzed at this point, Chris continued to be throttled and suffocated by unseen force. Allegedly, at this point, the force was so powerful that it lifted Chris off of his bed and threw him violently back down, several times. Finally, whatever it was released him and sunk back beneath his bed. And yet, Chris stayed immobilized, but finally fell asleep after,
He was gently snuggled to bed by the dark forces.
Go
The
to
black mask
sleep.
comes out from under your bed. He'll put your seats on, tuck you in,
There's
and
a
then he'll
lullaby and everything.
whisper a really creepy story and throttle you until you pass out.
So yeah,
Seattle's wacky.
He luckily passed out. And
Luckily.
yeah, no, I mean, like, you know,
Lord knows if he stayed awake. Jesus.
obviously the next morning, Christopher, like, Case woke up and he found tender areas around his neck, and he also found his blood sheets were covered in blood.
His blood sheets were covered
Did
in
I say his
blood.
blood sheets?
That's what they're meant for, right?
That's what you use them for.
I'm sorry, I did mess that up. I didn't mean to
blood
say.
sheets are quite bloody hot.
He had
It's
blood.
gonna
You gotta
be
make
like
sure to put on the slip, and then your blood sheets, and then your
1000%
normal
what the
sheets,
tampon was invented for.
so we could get rid of the blood
All right,
sheets.
sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so no,
I've
but
been to the Royal Museum. They
he's
have
cut.
lots of blood sheets from the 1600s.
the blood was apparently due to these small razor-like cuts that he found at the tip of each fingertip.
at the tip of each fingertip.
They're like,
Incisions?
like razor-like incisions.
Like torture?
Like yeah, like little like.
Like
what
underneath the
I assumed
fingertips?
was just like yeah, right on his fingertips. Like I was thinking like a paper cut bad enough to like cut it
I was about
and
to
make
say,
some
like,
blood.
Like
But-
you just picked a book up and went like this for
Yeah.
a little bit.
So he had apparently he had all these little cuts on there.
Dude, don't do that. It's a nasty visual.
So after making that horrific self-discovery and subsequent call to his friend Sammy on April 16th, Chris got straight to work.
Geometry.
Subsequent. That was a great
Salty
pronunciation.
geometry.
Now, a man named Rodney Higuchi was managing the religious bookstore called Evangel Incorporated when Chris arrived and immediately...
A Japanese man was
Inga-
running a religious...
I think that he's white. I think it's just...
What was his last name again?
Higuchi. Hagucci.
1000% not a white
My
name.
very white
He sounds
friend,
like
Smith
Italian. I
Higuchi.
think it's Italian. Because it's
Higuchi?
H-A...
Is it
It's-
like
it's like
Gucci?
It's
Is it
like
Gucci?
Ha Gucci.
That's
Ha,
Japanese,
and then
man.
Gucci.
No wise?
No,
Okay,
just
that
eyes.
might be.
It's literally spelled
That
like
could,
Gucci.
Who knows?
No
it
way.
could be Fresco Italian.
I don't know why this matters, but
Gucci.
we're all
I
Americans.
just want to know who the evangelist who's about to tell this man some bull is.
Well, Chris arrived
Yeah,
and
what you gotta do here?
picked up a bunch of crosses and crucifixes and just started buying
Chucking
them.
him at him?
Nope.
Oh.
He just ran up to the counter and was like, I'm going to buy these. And of course,
all
Mr.
these.
Higuchi was very interested in what Chris was going to use these religious idols for.
It's kind of weird.
From his account, Chris was very upfront and said that he felt he was being attacked by paranormal entities and was looking for anything and everything to ward it off. So Rodney helped point him out books on
Rodney
witchcraft.
was like, "You're gonna buy a lot of
He
crap." from
he did.
my
He
store."
helped.
Wait,
He did
wait.
help point him out to some books that would.
Are we
help
going to
him.
come back to this?
Yes.
Because I don't want to skip over Higuchi.
I
being
swear. like,
Are we gonna come back to Higuchi because of why he just
Higuchi
sold him
will show up
$600
multiple
worth of
times.
crap?
He will come.
Okay, cool. Keep
Yeah.
going
like,
then.
all right.
So, Mr. Higuchi is more than willing to help him find some books against,
And
to
Jesus.
find books against witchcraft. So, and he got him some other religious paraphernalia. Chris, after many harrowing nights, finally had something to combat, the demons that he had been cursed with. And so he set to, getting his apartment ready for that night. So he began preparing, placing the crucifixes, running salt through every room in his apartment, and writing counter hexes and other protections on slips of paper, scattering them throughout the place. With all the defenses set, Chris anxiously awaited the coming evening. Essentially, though, during that night of the 17th, Chris ended up abandoning his home. And later, during the police investigation, it was discovered that he had gone and rented a hotel room that night.
Okay, so he got real spooked. Went to the Hyatt. Got real spooked.
Yeah, so basically whatever forces were at work at his home had efficiently driven him out. With Chris having exhibited erratic behavior and, the eerie nature of the claims he was making, Sammy, his friend, called Chris that morning of the 16th, hoping to check in on him before work.
You're right. I looked it up.
Or I
It's
believe-
Higuchi, not Haguchi.
What? Which one?
It's Higuchi, not Haguchi. It's a Japanese name.
Oh, interesting. Well, Evangel Incorporated. I don't know. I just had it written down. Whatever, man. So now it's the 17th, and
So he's dead now.
no.
He dies now.
Let me go back here. Okay, so basically it's the morning, so it's into the 16th of the night of the 16th.
Okay, so night of this, because the 17th's when the first wellness call went out, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and so that was the
Midday probably on the 17th.
Well, so what it ended up happening was she sent it out because before work, Sammy was like, well, he's been acting pretty crazy. And, the last time he was like, the demon tried to strangle me to death. So she was like, okay. And she can't get a hold of him before work. And that had been because he had left the 16th and stayed the night at the hotel. And since it was his landline and it was 1991, she was unable to get a hold of him, which is sad because in retrospect, there was kind of like a passing, like they kept just missing each other. Like, so the cops went there the first time and didn't find anything. Yeah, he wasn't there. So that's why on the 17th they checked and nobody ended up answering. So they were just like, well, I guess we can't do anything.
So he just like get really anxious and pop a blood vessel in his brain.
Well, we'll get to that. Yeah. Sammy Sauter called Chris that morning, hoping to check in with him before work. Of course, he did not pick up due to him having stayed in the hotel. Worried, though, she phoned a welfare check into him from the police, hoping they could find him. Ultimately, though, she had to head to work and wait for the response from the cops. The Seattle police arrived, but found no one at the home, and the door was locked. Meanwhile, Chris, having left the hotel, went to visit a Catholic priest and also was seen by the manager of Evangel Inc. again, Mr. Higuchi. Mr.
Rodney,
Higuchi,
right?
Rodney Higuchi, yes.
What a weird.
Mr. Higuchi recalled how Chris had returned to the store, exhausted but desperate, and that he had asked for more ways to ward off spirits. And Mr. Higuchi did the same thing.
Mr. Higuchi was like, let me get you some iodized salts.
I survived Hiroshima, motherfucker.
Well, and unfortunately, though, all the efforts put forth by Chris that night of the 17th would ultimately prove futile. When Sammy returned home from work that day, she had found a missed call from Chris on her answering machine. Unlike the last few times she had heard from her
OMG
friends,
demons.
Sammy noted that Chris had sounded like he had given in. He explained to her that last night, they, in quotes, had nearly got him, and that tonight would most likely be the night they finally would kill him. So the very next day, when the word had gotten around to family and friends that Chris had not reported to work, and this is, I believe, Wednesday the 18th. Wednesday the 18th. Yes. So on Wednesday the 18th, nobody's gotten back to him or anybody. The job's worried about him. So then Sammy's like, hey, can we get another welfare check? So this is when the cops end up going back to the house. And
so they didn't go in the first time because it was locked.
Yeah.
Right? But the
now
second
this time
is it unlocked?
it's unlocked. So it's unlocked. And they just walk in, and that's when they discover Chris's lifeless body in
Did
the
he kill
tub.
himself?
Murder.
So the date was
He sounds like
April
a really elaborate
18th,
suicide now.
exactly 7 days after meeting with the alleged witch on April 11th.
Murder.
So, I mean, we can continue. So now I have a bunch of notes. So obviously, that's the main gist of the story. A guy, seemingly
He's found dead in his tub with salt and candles everywhere after he had a weird experience with a really
Did they
horny
investigate the lady?
55-year-old.
So this
They did, right? They had to have.
Well, that's what
Investigate the lady.
No, and that's the thing
Did
that's
they
kind
find the witch of Lower L.A.?
No, and it's at North
Or San Fran
San
or wherever?
Francisco. Now, there's one thing that I do have a lot of stuff. So Chris was said to be in good physical and mental health or whatever. They have
good physical and mental health. Did he have inherently bad blood pressure?
Greensboro.com reported Tony Burt from the King County Police Department said that they had discovered that he had died of natural causes, and that cause was myocarditis.
So heart.
So
It's like
a
the
heart arrhythmia.
it's an inflammation of the myocardium.
It's
what I heard.
So he got.
And it'll cause a regular heartbeat, right? That's
He
kind
was
of
found in a bathtub, right?
that's what Truman had recently. Not the same thing.
Myocarditis?
No, he had. It's something. It sounds
Right, right,
similar.
right.
His is where
Was the bathtub full?
No, it was empty.
Empty.
He got
bathtub.
too excited at his
So-
brain sent.
well,
two
this is
signals,
so-
his
there's a
heart
couple-
pumped too fast.
So here's a couple theories. So what was the one that you were talking about beforehand that you'd kind of said?
So when he was talking about voices, he had a ton of he's a DJ, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
So if he's in a mindset where he's thinking something could happen, if he's getting feedback on that crap, I only have half a dozen pieces of audio equipment.
Electromagnetic.
Yeah, and if
fields
I
stuff.
accidentally forget to turn off a pair of headphones, that shit'll make noise if the neighbors are doing too much crap, and
Yeah.
I'll weird out for a sec, and
And
then
you ever
have
did
to go turn
drugs?
them off.
It didn't. Not. They didn't
Did
speculate.
they not test for drugs?
Well,
They don't
What was
test
his
for drugs
what
that
is
would
the
make you
autopsy?
hallucinate. So.
What's his autopsy though?
Well, so the autopsy literally came back
Myocarditis.
and it was acute myocarditis, and I
Right,
looked
but
into that.
myocarditis could be caused
Okay, so
by
yeah,
drug use.
did he have natural high blood pressure?
Well, see, that's okay. So what he was talking about? You say drug use. So now there's one thing that they were speculating is
He's
that
down there.
he has
freaky deaky.
he's a fitness
Oh,
zealot.
was he on
And
roids?
they were saying that he took vitamins and such, and it's the 90s, and I don't know if supplements are very
Yeah,
or
they all got inspired by the Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, so
And regulation was still pretty
and he
weak
was in
up until the
California.
2000s.
Gold's Gym,
well,
Venice Beach.
that was just one. I don't know how long
You
the
could still
actual
get
stint.
amphetamine and pre-workout in the 90s.
Well, that was the thing. I think that so some people were talking that they're like, okay, what happens if he gets like got myocarditis
straight up
because he's been just doing
amphetamines
a lot
in
of
a
like, you know,
pre-workout or something.
Lida.
But what if? Hear me out,
Mhm.
lady, down south, the San Francisco Bay
The,
witch.
the Egyptian witch
Whatever.
from San Fran, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're doing some shit, you know? And, like, she comes on to him. It's like, no, I'm not about this. But it's because he's having an adverse reaction to drugs that they're doing. Tripping their balls off.
They're both getting really high, so the Egyptian music isn't as boring.
They have Egyptian
So-
music that's not... It's 'cause
But
it's
they're not
like,
doing.
it's
They
a
were doing.
ceremonial.
Okay, I'm just gonna say I don't think they were doing drugs in the middle of wherever they were because they were
But
in.
I know,
they
but-
were in a public bar or something.
They never went to a hotel. Nothing.
No.
I've
didn't
never
have it
done
as a-
drugs
He
in a public
left-
bar ever.
Yeah, he literally left like the area because she was like,
That
"We should
never
go back to
happens.
my place."
Museum.
I'm pretty sure that they were either out to dinner. It was some kind of food drink
Bullshit
setting.
alleyway, man. Have you never been out in a situation where you're just like, oh man, we're sitting
In
there
fact-
having a drink, and then all of a sudden,
and then all of a sudden,
I can't
you're-
say that I
you're-
have.
All of a sudden, you're knee deep in ether and quaaludes.
no, never
So-
been around the corner.
Okay,
doing some
let's
kind of
separate
drug.
these theories a little bit.
All right.
So we have one that
I'm still just
maybe
curious. Does his family have high blood pressure? And then he creeped himself out one night, and then just did that until his heart
Based on
swelled,
his-
and then he killed
Based
himself
on his
on accident.
previous endeavors, I don't think that was
Dude,
it
I'd
could've been the
never.
cause.
I don't know if I'd ever get scared enough to set salt in my fucking house. You know, I'd never be like, oh my god, the demons are getting me. I'm gonna put salt near everything. I'm gonna make geometric symbols, and I'm gonna
But-
get candles out because it's the lizard people.
a drug overdose or drug habit could have definitely created that.
See, now I don't think that it was because he was doing drugs. I think if anything, it was because he got a tainted supplement or he was doing vitamins that weren't like regulated,
Interesting.
and that could get. So that only really does the heart thing. I don't. It does. I mean, could that make him go like mentally crazy? Maybe.
Did Higuchi sell him the salt and candles?
He definitely sold him probably the candles and
Okay.
the crucifixes and like the religious stuff, all the books. That he
I'm not
was
saying
in.
I'm like blaming Higuchi. He
Well,
was
no,
like,
yeah.
my best customer just died.
But the guy was like, it's interesting because the guy was definitely like watching him and like.
So he either got sick or he got something that was a drug-induced thing.
Well, the other problem too is that acute myocarditis can just happen too. It usually happens in people who are younger, and it was acute myocarditis. There's different types, and I think acute is just like
yeah, but acute is not
something-
chronic, right? So like acute
Well-
is like instant, like kind of onset.
Yeah, and
from
I think-
some kind of cause.
well, that's the thing too is that there's two different. Well, acute myocarditis I think is because
So
it
he
doesn't
wasn't
have.
sleeping. He was stressing himself. Was he like?
Well, that's
true. Yeah.
so one theory when Sammy Soder. I have a couple.
Yeah, Sammy not Sosa.
I'm gonna have to get on. I've got some articles
IMDb.
here that I'll actually read through from the
IMDb?
Seattle Times on it. But
Oh, okay.
one of them actually stated that she thought that he had died of fright or like he had scared himself to death. I mean, that was one of their theories because they were like,
well, I mean, yeah, he stressed himself out to the point
Yeah.
where.
But
something
haven't
happened.
you ever seen those like stories where people kind of they start with one fear and then they just build on it, so everything like
Yeah.
escalates,
They're
right?
genuinely scared to death.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason
Right,
for that
right, right.
phrase where it's like,
yeah.
But like they
you're
start
shocked.
right.
The stress goes up so much.
So what was the initial factor that particular the woman, or was it
They
when you
never
got back to
found
the place?
her, right?
No, and so that's the thing
See,
that's
I
kind of.
want to know what this woman was like. How intimidating was this goddamn woman?
Very successful
Because
Just
they
should I-
never-
Hashtag girl boss. Hashtag killing it.
1950. You know,
It's
or
like yeah, it
he
was
was
like
50 years old.
it's like the last boy that didn't want to date me ended up dead.
I scared the last man who didn't stick with me to death.
Yeah, like you swipe right if you don't want me to curse yo ass.
It almost kind of seemed like a mom who had like a son complex. My son rejected me on the way
Dude,
to
if off
college.
the top
but
of my
her
head I could say Oedipus backwards, I would, but I can't.
I wonder if she had done like a little like, she's like, I need to bring my soulmate into the world or whatever, and then she'd like found him. They like met up, and then all of a sudden she's like, nice, my spell worked, and then all of a sudden he's like, nah, and she's like,
Mom,
well,
I'm good.
We're looking at his apartment like it's weird because it's got salt and candles, but if we could have seen the San Fran witch's apartment, she's got like turkey heads and chicken corpses everywhere, and she's throwing them in pots to be like,
If that motherfucker won't be with me, and now he's going to die.
Double, trouble.
Now my biggest problem too, though, is that
Chicken
the fact
pot
that's like
and
that
turkey
is
bone.
something that we should look into if that's what's going on. Like, there's a lady involved that was like, okay, maybe it's a
They
curse,
never
but we
found
should
her.
probably talk to her. We should probably figure it out. And that's where when the sources split, where it's like they don't really know if like somebody in the music
How-
business had introduced her.
It's back in 92, right?
91.
91.
But
okay,
so-
either way.
wait a minute. It's a conspiracy. Someone in the music industry wanted his position and introduced him to the San Fran witch so he'd get a curse put on him and die so he could get his position. Who took over his position at Muzak? We
And
gotta
we have
look
to
into
at
him.
Yeah, and then we just start all of a sudden it's just like going back through the Christopher Case.
We'll find out that his mother is a strange woman in San Fran with an Egyptian music
What if
fetish.
he went down there, though, and he actually had a condition at that point, like bipolar disorder or something?
I see undiagnosed bipolar
I-
is a good answer for pretty much any of these.
I know, but like
so-
he goes down there, he meets this woman, he's like, "You're my fucking mom," and like claims it's switched that they never got to interview or talk to. That's crazy too. And then it would explain all the voices as well.
Yeah. If he did meet her, if he
she
actually
was a
met,
thing.
yeah, if there was a real thing, like if he had already, let's just say,
If
that
he already
he was
snapped
going
and he
down,
just-
he was going down a spiral. It was getting worse.
mom?
He was doing
Sorry.
supplements that were egging his brain or whatever.
Which would have been common back in the 90s.
Well,
Yeah,
exactly.
true.
Like,
Like,
100%.
up until
Arnold
like
Schwarzenegger
2008 or
was-
9, you could still get stuff with meth in it,
Yeah.
pretty
He was
much.
the
So,
epitome.
If she was real, I doubt that she was introduced by anybody in the music industry because he had obviously told
Christian Mingle.
Sammy and other people, because there's like two women involved in
Farmers only.
the Seattle Times article here that I have that quoted that they were talking to him, and you guys are really, I'm just losing my train of thought.
Sorry, bro.
I'm just gonna read the
You got to practice, man. We're helping you practice your focus skills.
100%,
While we're
yeah.
bullshitting, you just got to keep going.
That's going to happen with guests.
it is.
100%.
You're right, man.
Listen
You
to
ever
1,000
listen to a
podcasts.
dollop? Garrett's ranting
You
half
can
the
count
time,
all
and
this out,
Anthony's
but
just
yeah.
pissed.
Or
this
any other concept.
So I'm gonna read you the article
Mr.
from the Seattle Times. This is from April 22nd,
Can you read me that
1991.
title? Because I can see that it's nearly a paragraph itself from here.
Occult clues baffle police probing weird death scene. Victim reportedly terrified by spurned woman's curse.
You want me to read it?
Yeah, go for it.
Spurned?
Spurned.
Spurned.
It will be 2 or 3 weeks before King County police can unravel the mysterious death of a North King County man whose body was found surrounded by occult symbols, prompted by information from a Fayetteville.
I think it's Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Fayetteville? Okay.
Fayetteville.
Fayetteville, North Carolina woman who told police the man felt his life was in jeopardy after a woman put a curse on him. King County police found the body of Christopher Case, 35, in an empty bathtub in his apartment on the 1300 block of North 152nd Street shortly after 4 p.m. Thursday. There was no evidence of foul play, but the presence of several crucifixes and piles of kosher. Oh, it was kosher salt. Kosher salt throughout the apartment have baffled investigators. King County Police Major Jackson Beard said the salt and the other objects found at the scene have some significance in self-protection against demons or evil forces. A book, Strange Customs, explains that salt is a devil repellent. Police found lines of salt poured along the base of walls throughout the apartment with piles at the corners. The same thing was done on the porch where the salt was poured in geometric designs. He had a porch? This motherfucker.
I mean, dude,
Class.
I was going to say it's a nice apartment
I was
considering.
about to say, goddamn. It's pretty clear he thought something was going on, said Beard of the deceased man. I love that his name's Beard. However, Beard said the crime scene doesn't suggest that someone came in and did something
No other
to
way
him.
to identify him.
Beard said police will know more when tests are done to determine if there were any toxic substances in his bloodstream. That will take at least 2 weeks. At this point, this is a suspicious death, something that needs to be explained, said Beard, who is a commander of the King County Police North Precinct. They literally already told me that. I don't believe there is any foul play. Obviously, though, I'd like to know what the toxicology report says. This could be a suicide, a natural death, or there could be something else going on here. The unnamed woman who tipped off police was a friend of Case. She told police that Case felt his life was in jeopardy after a woman from San Francisco put a curse on him several weeks ago. Letters, notes, and other written material found in the apartment appeared to support that information. There was also evidence that Case was seeking psychic help to ward off the curse. Wait, psychic help?
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure that the psychic help was like...
Also Higuchi? Was Higuchi
well, I mean,
just really making money
guess
off
they-
this man? Because maybe
well,
we
they
do
say
need to
this-
look into Higuchi.
Well, I mean, they say the psychic help, I think that they just, like, overall broad scale is, like, they found a bunch of occult stuff in his house, and then he also had been writing those little, like, epitaphs of, like, warding off spirits and what have you.
Okay.
I don't know. I think I did mention that there was little pieces of paper that he'd written, right?
Yeah.
So
The way Sammy is spelled, I love it. Samye Soder,
I think
a
that-
woman from North Carolina who telephoned the Seattle Times, believes Case may have died from fright.
Yeah, I said
She
it.
said that Case had called her several times over the past weeks, expressing strong fear for his life. He said that he met a woman who was a witch and was attempting to get him to be enamored of her. When he refused to respond, the woman supposedly put a curse on him, said Soder. Soder, who expressed shock at his death, said she had known Case for 10 years and that he always seemed to be stable. But a week ago, she said, Case called and left a message on a recorder that people are trying to do things to me. He did not elaborate. He left the same message with our friend in Fayetteville. He was frantic, she said. Both women tried to contact Case by phone several times over the next 3 days. Finally, the woman in Fayetteville called King County Police and expressed concern over Case's welfare. Sauter said police went to the apartment a couple of times, but there was no response. It was locked during those times, but when the police returned the last time, the door was unlocked, she said. Police found lines of salt poured around the base of the walls throughout the apartment and on the porch.
Yeah, so that's a wild article that was written about 6 days after his death there.
I'm not gonna lie, dude. You got this whole like news. You should get into news reporting, bro.
If they would hire me, man, I'd do it in a heartbeat.
He's got that voice.
And then you could smoke weed again.
True. That'd be
So,
like, dude, do it
There's the
all the time.
That's the American dream right there.
I got
So-
a white picket fence of weed all around my apartment.
That Maori woman can do it with that tattoo
I
in
was
New
gonna say,
Zealand.
I did
I
see-
can do it as a stoner asshole. God damn it! I'm
Dude, I
breaking
did
new
think-
ground.
I
for
mean, I would watch some
privileged
Maori,
peoples.
like some Maori.
She already looks more badass than everyone else on that news company.
How are you recording this?
On
For
the
that?
yeah.
Is a memory card in there?
Yep. SD card.
How much? What's the?
I have 39 hours and 23 minutes left on that
Holy
guy.
shit! We can get some stuff done,
I
guys.
was about to say we could be here for the next 2. We can solve this mystery.
Who are we gonna look into? Oh, the guy who got his job at Music Holdings.
Yeah, we're going to do a deep dive into the man who took over Case's position at Muzak.
So according to a site that I cannot read because of my own handwriting.
Dude, okay.
Now
I'm gonna just say. Normally, I'm like, man, I can't read this. I don't know how
looks
Pat
like-
does.
it looks
but
like-
obviously, no one.
looks like lawnlove.com.
Do you
I
mind
think
if I give it a
think
shot?
literally
Since
looks
we're
like-
all just trying,
Quite
point it out
understandable.
so I know what I'm looking at.
the top
All
of
right,
it.
this character
Lawn Love.
here is from Stonehenge.
Lawnlove.com.
No, .com.
.com.
At least I can read .com, thank you and please. So,
You look at that, Steven,
I
and you
don't-
tell me what you
dude,
think
I've
that
seen
is.
his handwriting, man.
Second
pizza
box.
recipes.
this
Start
is
of
why
the second box.
this is why I write it down on the iPad too. The reason I looked it up is because I wanted to know like why, it's like how prominent are witches in some of these areas. And so I looked that up.
Yes, the government witch database.
Well, no, it was literally it was kind of a funny site because there was parts where it was just like
You got Avengers.
it was like
you got witches.
best cities for witches. Worst cities
Salem.
for
Duh.
No, and then it
Okay.
was like, and then it
I
had
was
filters.
about
It was
to
like,
say,
would you
is
like
this
the
just
most
like-
covens and the least amount of
yeah,
covens?
there you go. I was about to say this is covens and
So-
Wiccans and
Hey
so
guys,
on.
yeah, no, and that was
Salem's
the other thing.
main hub. Obviously, everyone knows that.
So Seattle is
Yankee Candles.
number
specifically.
8 best city for witches in
There's a Wiccan
2021.
store off 44th.
2021 says that Seattle is number 8 for the best city for witches.
Man, they really branched out.
So
Wait, but she was in San Fran.
it has a spiritual ranking of 69. I wrote that in because that's
Lol.
hilarious.
What a great number.
Sex number.
It also ranks number 3 in the place with the most witch, Wiccan, pagan, and magic groups. Portland is number 13.
Makes
How
sense.
is Portland 13?
I don't know.
How is
dippies,
Portland
man.
not 1?
Well, and now we get to, and San Francisco is number.
I guess maybe Boston.
San Francisco is number 5. So,
Okay. Is
so
Boston number 1?
I did not.
Is Salem number
No,
1?
I think it was like, what's that place in
Salem's not number 1.
what's
I don't
that
wanna
Arizona
continue.
town that Sedona?
Oh.
Tucson.
So
Selling
that's
turquoise.
so
and
it
curses.
does appear that like the witch thing could be like, you know, maybe the woman was identified as, let's just say, so if the woman was real and she was or identified as a witch and thus tried to put a curse on him, it was either he did get cursed or something was happening and he scared himself to death, or all these conspiratorial
I'm not even gonna lie. I'd love it if he got cursed. If he denied a cougar and her response was "You're gonna die," and then he did, it'd be like, man,
I mean, do
I
you
didn't
just
think that was the case. What I think happened
respect your
he
West Coast
denied
milfs.
was a cougar, and the cougar retaliated.
And the cougar
And
pulled
that
him into the
motherfucker couldn't
cage and
handle it.
ate him.
yeah,
No,
so
he couldn't handle it.
He mentally, because he was an introvert, so it might have like,
Genuinely just screwed him the hell up.
yeah, I mean,
He
like
shaked some shit up.
to the point of him dying like that,
It
intense.
sounds like maybe he was like an incredible introvert. He tried to burst out of his bubble and get to meet someone, and he went on a date with a near grandma who cursed him.
Yeah.
But she cursed him because she was mad about rejection.
Yes.
She was like, I'm offering this on the table, literally. And she felt rejected, and she decided to haunt his ass. And
Went
that
home.
that guy could not handle it.
Nah, dude,
Case,
and like
case-
I mean, dude, tell me how
case
freaky.
by case basis. he
Would you
could
be
not handle
freaked out? Yeah, because I literally said it was like murdered by witch. Case
Dude,
closed.
Hear me out, okay? If I came back to y'all tomorrow and was like, hey, I just went on a date with a 55-year-old who cursed me when I rejected her, y'all would be like, Austin, good job getting a date, but what the fuck? And I would be like, yeah, I know, that's pretty wild.
Yeah, and then we
we'd
would
never
Reese-
talk about it again.
Reese-
But if
recently.
you died 7 days later, I would
You'd be
have a
so
lot of
disappointed in
questions.
me.
You would literally be like, where is the ring tape? I need to see it.
No,
This is
genuine. That's the
ridiculous.
thing, dude. If I got cursed
7
and
days
then
later,
I started hearing
100%.
voices and crap, I'd be
Shit
like,
comes out of the
"Yo,
TV.
dude,
I'd be well,
Pat, you'll be
I'm
so
gonna-
stoked.
Yeah,
Dude,
I
come
would-
over to my house. Crazy shit's happening.
Hey, Austin's parents, I
That
know
is-
he died, but can I collect some data? I got a great idea.
yeah, I'm just doing EVPs
I'm
like
pretty
Austin.
sure it was a slightly older woman who cursed him. That's why he's gone.
She came out of the TV, according to the movie that I saw
But,
from the early
You're right, though.
2000s.
If somebody was like, if you watch this tape, you're going to die in 7 days, I'd be like, I need a VCR, like, now.
I went on a date with a woman who was 41, and that was similar. I felt like she cursed me a little bit. She lived in a studio apartment. I'm not proud of this moment. This was a few months ago. So, yeah, definitely, I could relate.
You tripped
Yeah.
over a cauldron
But
on
did
the
you-
way out.
I was gonna say.
But she left like no, like.
I think that
So we
you came
hung
out
out.
on top. You're not dead.
No.
You're dead on the inside.
We
is
had
what
a
you're
good
saying.
time. We didn't hook up. It was a similar situation ish, sounds like. And
No faddles. Were
she's
fitted.
gone, right? Poof, thin air. Obviously, I'm not thinking I'm going to die, but like, Jesus, if I do, you should investigate that.
Dude, if you come to me and you've been cursed, like, we'll get you some help.
Well,
If
I
you
also-
come to us and say you're cursed,
Now-
we're going to show up with all this crap in
you
your
should.
house
I gave
for
you
4
both
weeks.
jobs, you dicks.
Now, what's really sad, that aside, let's just say that this guy was having a bad time, like a mental bad time. The circumstances going between when Sammy was trying to get him, like, the welfare checks could not have been worse timing because...
Why was he on
if he had-
welfare checks? Has anybody asked that question?
well,
yet?
because he had, over the course of that week, had been going from, like, I don't believe in this curse to calling
he's
his
not
you
getting,
friends.
don't
he's
get a
not
welfare
getting
check
welfare-
from where? It's the
No, for
government.
the police.
Yeah, like
a
like
welfare check,
like a
to
checkup
his
on.
home.
Hey, are you okay? Is that what?
Yeah,
you're
we're
Yeah,
not.
okay.
He's
I
not
was like,
getting
you don't
government-
get a
He's
fucking
not getting a welfare
Dude, 7
check.
months at least. Like, there's no way. die.
You're like, it's like he's fully employed, but he's really scared
He's
of this
also on
curse.
welfare. No. Like the cops.
Well, he probably
showing
was
up.
after that if he didn't die.
Because he,
But he did. That's why we're here.
every time that Sammy came through and tried to get him, checked up, and he was in the hotel and such. Anytime that he could have gotten help from the cops, obviously, like if he did die from he did die from myocarditis, so maybe it wouldn't have done anything. But I also wonder, like, how would a curse have killed him had like cops been like, say that he had gone.
so-
Imagine, I just
no,
want to take
finish,
this.
go,
I
sorry.
just want to take this full circle.
Take me on a trail.
So, in two scenarios, one it's non-paranormal and he's got a mental issue, and it's depressing because he literally in the moments that these guys could have maybe like gotten him actual help mentally or
Managed to
physically.
somehow avoid it.
Yeah, I kind of he avoided it. The second one is that it is paranormal, and it's like if the cops had gotten a hold of him, I don't
Then
know
we
what.
might have had proof of the paranormal.
Yeah. It's like would they you're like, we're gonna stick you. How about this? We're gonna
Put you in the drunk tank for the night because you're acting wacky. And
yeah,
then
they
you still die.
Yeah, right. It's just like, and I mean that's the freaky part is like myocarditis, like.
Okay, hear me
Or
out.
he was
Imagine
he was
this.
the
You
last
go to
refuge.
Your friendly
The demons are
neighborhood evangelical soothsayer bullshit artist
Yeah.
Higuchi, and you buy a ton of crucifixes, some candles, and a lot of kosher salt. Then you spend 3 hours making symbols on your porch and kosher salt and putting it in every corner of your house. And then you hide in your tub because you're so scared of this creature
I mean, I
after
would.
you light 30 candles throughout your house. And then you die because you're stressing yourself out enough. You're hiding in your tub
Or-
after pouring
or
2 pounds of
It's
kosher
the
salt
last
around your house.
vestibule of peace in that place because you are
demons
being.
can't get in the tub.
No, well, I mean that didn't. It seems
can't
like
swim.
it seems like they could. It does
They're in
seem
fiery
like.
hell. They can't
Demons are afraid of water.
I hate to say, man, it looks like they kind of got him. That's all I'm saying.
But,
He's dead because
I
of demons.
genuinely do
OD.
not think. So he said natural causes, right?
OD.
So whatever
Well,
he saw
they-
at the end of his fingers wasn't
Wait,
significant enough.
he said natural causes.
No, the
coroner
coroner
said.
said the person who saw the corpse
Yeah, yeah.
said natural causes.
Yeah.
And then he was talking about having cuts on his fingers days
Yeah.
before, and that wasn't mentioned, which means
Yeah.
they weren't actually that bad if they were there at
yeah,
all.
but I don't think that he died from the cuts. I think that
No,
was
that's
just a
what I'm
very
saying.
spooky thing.
Exactly.
But the coroner,
he thought
there
it was
no.
spooky.
Yeah.
He died
But if
of
the coroner-
myocarditis.
Yes.
If the coroner didn't see that,
I don't.
Fitness
so the
junkie?
I don't have the autopsy reports. Maybe they did, but I don't think probably they're not like gonna
if
be
every
like,
other demon
not gonna
account we
highlight
have from
that.
now on isn't caused by myocarditis,
I'm gonna
I
go
call
with
bullshit.
in '91, right? I personally
The mobile
think that
phone had only been
this
out for like 8 years.
motherfucker died from.
Don't mind me. I don't know what the hell that was.
I think he died from using gym supplements. The only reason I say that is because it wasn't like steroids or anything else, but like everything on the market at that point in time was from like the 80s when Arnold Schwarzenegger was going big,
Yeah, it's
whatever.
91,
So
so yeah.
every single thing on the market, no matter what it was, protein,
They had some sort of stimulant in them that
yeah,
hadn't been banned yet.
creatine, any kind of like
Creatine, ton of
pre-workout,
methamphetamines derivatives that weren't called
100%.
amphetamines.
Because it did said he was a religious fitness zealot and that he
if
regularly
he's
took
religious, he's not
supplements.
taking drugs. If he's a zealot,
Yeah.
I mean, he
especially, Jesus
religious.
Christ,
I
like-
meant that in like a descriptive term.
Yeah,
of-
but
I
I
know,
mean,
but
if
like,
that's
if you're a
the
religious
descriptive
zealot,
term
you're not
using.
doing drugs. You're like my body.
If you're a zealot for workout, the only drugs you're doing are related to your workout.
well, that's what I'm saying.
psychosis,
So you think that would also cause not just the heart attack that killed him, but
I
also
think progressively
the
up till
psychosis
then.
that
I think up until then, like
100%.
if he'd been in that state, he'd kind of been running a independent life, where it's just him. You know, he's a shut-in, but he works out a ton. He's taking pre-workout.
he was an
he's taking
introvert?
all sorts of stuff.
yeah, he was an introvert.
And then he finally gets out of his bubble, has an emotional situation he can't totally handle. But if all of that's the case, you know, he's been alone. He's constantly probably putting his heart in a situation where it feels like it needs to work hard.
Yeah, and he's
then
he's not
he gets to a
sleeping and
point
such.
where he's not sleeping. He's still trying to commit to his normal routines while also freaking out constantly to the point where he's dropping who knows how much money on evangelical oddities.
1,000%. It's fitness related.
I
You guys
feel like
can-
he probably just overdid his poor goddamn heart. And
The reason I don't
fucking
even think
freaked
it's his.
himself out.
He did overdo his heart, but I don't think it's that. I think that back then, legit supplements were not regulated. So
Yeah.
like to take something that was like considered legal at the time, or like no one really cared,
Yeah.
to be a person who died in a bathtub. Someone could argue
Clothed
trying to clean yourself
because you're afraid of ghosts.
and then you are hearing voices and everything else. That's like some serious psychological involvement. So the only thing that I could possibly think of that would be causing like psychological involvement, it's got to be specific supplements that
Yeah.
were brand new. Like those particular supplements, you're talking like back in the 80s, like
Yeah.
when he's like, oh, cool, I'm getting all buff, get to the chopper, like that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff that would genuinely permeate the brain blood barrier.
Yeah, and it
cause
would
that kind of
really
stuff.
do it.
'Cause it-
So
all
then do you
sorts of
think
crap.
maybe on this, going to the fact that like maybe the theory that this lady didn't exist is just
She
like
might have existed.
okay, and
but
then
she
she
might
might
have
have
existed 100%. But like when he met her, he was like, "Oh my god, like this is fantastic!" And like whether she introduced her something or like he was
Yeah.
intrigued by her, and then she rejected him. That could have been the curse, right? Like being rejected. Like I'm a fucking muscular man,
Yeah.
or I'm bodybuilding my ass off, and I'm taking all these fucking drugs. She rejects him. All of a sudden, oh, it's
no,
a curse.
he rejected her, which is what turned
Right,
into the
right,
curse.
right. But okay, either way, he could have felt like he was cursed because of that. Had
Yeah.
nothing to do with body. lifting
No,
or
no,
anything
no.
like that.
So what?
This is work.
So what could have happened? Obviously, I'm guessing what you're implying is that he had been taking these supplements. They were affecting him over the time.
And if you
She's
incorporate
real.
drinks,
Compounding.
Yeah, and then
That's
she's
and think of it. He's an introvert who
not even
doesn't
drugs,
do
just
drugs.
drinks.
Yeah.
So he's just trying to live his life still, but he's using a supplement that has a substance in it that
Same with
causes
substance. I think
yeah,
it could have
that
had an
genuinely
interaction.
either has drug or it could just be a bad supplement. It
Yeah.
could have had, given the amount of psychosis he displayed, something
So,
he
well,
interacted
yeah.
with screwed up his blood chemistry.
and I would have to agree. I don't know, like, and I obviously don't know, like, how far coroner reports in 91
like to get
would
to
go.
35
nothing.
fine.
It's like you've got reasonable explanations, but you don't have, other than speculation, any way to necessarily prove that because obviously, like,
But
they didn't.
hear
His
me out. I
voices,
know what
too.
you're trying to make. I know what you're trying to argue.
What I'm trying to. What am I?
However, the only evidence we have for what you're arguing
What
are
am I?
his actions himself
what am I arguing?
and what
now?
he's told other people
What am I arguing?
that it's ghosts or demons.
How do you
Maybe.
guys do this? How do you do that? You guys talk over each other all the time. It's hilarious.
Because I know
It's an
I
art,
need
man.
to.
I love you
Become
guys
an
both,
art.
but holy fuck.
I have to. So
It's also why it's nice to have like singular channels because then I can just cut him out and then talk over him.
yeah. But what I'm saying is all we have saying it was demons is him. Because you're saying, what if the woman didn't exist? Then he made her up. And if he made up the woman, why wouldn't he make up demons? If the woman did exist,
Then she cursed
it's
him.
still just him saying that she cursed him.
Yes.
She could have cursed at him, called him
Yeah.
a fucking asshole.
I think-
and
I
he
think-
took it like, I've been cursed.
Yeah, but see, I think that because he's been a local, like why
You're
would-
over here
why-
thinking that
no,
the
I'm
man
just
working
saying,
at
why-
Muzak has
why?
a sound mind.
I think he must because he's.
I don't know, man. I don't know if anybody
feel-
making elevator music is sound of mind.
Everybody who knew him at least was like absolutely taken aback. So I'm guessing that there is.
That's how they are with every fucking murder ever.
Well,
Like, did you know he was a serial killer? Like, nah, man, he was so
it's
nice.
like-
He
I
shoveled my driveway.
normal
right
up until they told me he killed all those
Well, that's because psychopaths are crazy. I don't know, man.
Thumb.
That one doctor killed like 200 people in the
But-
UK before someone was like, a lot of old people die when he visits them.
I think
That should be fun.
we're comparing apples to oranges right now. I think.
I mean, you're comparing demons to
I'm
psychosis,
saying,
so I feel
I'm
like we're
saying
on the
that
same
the
page.
speed of which what happened to him was like okay, because like take out like
Yeah, man, and we're saying
the
there was
curse-
speed in
the-
his probi
the
in his
fact-
pre-workout.
Look, the fact that the guy.
We're not even getting from him. We're getting what his friends
Well,
are
yes,
saying.
but
Also-
he
it's
told them.
it's 1991.
We're not even
so
pointing
I'm
out
just saying,
who is literally portraying this article that we just spent so
Seattle
much
Times.
time. Yeah,
I should
but
have
they
read-
weren't
I
with
should have
him
read
the
the-
entire time. They're
No.
like, "Oh my god!" And then he did this, and then he felt this way.
I like to lean on the side of the curse because I'm like, let's just say that Chris was.
Which is creepier, if an old lady cursed you, or if a date managed to screw up your mind enough with the weird chemistry you'd been providing it that you died of fear? Because that kind of scares me
That's
more.
I mean, that's
where
an
like
intense.
a general situation of I rejected an older woman, and now I'm in a pit of psychosis that is leading me into.
See, I
Like, that's terrifying.
and I understand. 'cause
If it
that's
was a
part-
demon, at least that's simple. It's like, well, I've got a demon.
and it's
crap.
it's coming to kill me.
I
and
can
it's like-
hit up the Catholic Church and they'll come shout at it and sprinkle water around my foyer. Or I'm having a psychotic break. No one can help me. All of my friends are on the East Coast. All I've got is my protein powder and my DJ equipment and Mr. Higuchi.
But hey, at least we got that guy, and he went to a Catholic priest. He did go to a Catholic priest.
Also Japanese.
I swear it's H.A.
Father
and then
Higuchi.
Gucci. But he did go. He did
They
go
are-
to a Catholic priest. He was seeking psychic help, which I think is what that article is stating too, where they were like,
Where he
he's
did the
looking-
paperwork regarding finding some sort of spiritual assistance.
So the sad part for me is that yes, there's a nobody in the music biz, nobody was like, we should find the people who introduced him to this lady, you know,
Yeah.
and let's talk to this lady, and maybe because like one of the things was like, if he met her out on a business trip, was she a part of the business, or was it just like she just happened upon
Yeah.
him? Chris had explained to Sammy that he had met her this way, and that he knew, like
yeah.
I met her first, when Timmy met us, introduced us.
Good old Timmy took me out to the bars after a rough day riding elevator music, and we met a crazy witch lady who cursed me, and
Yeah. so
golly,
there's-
I'm hearing voices outside my door, Sammy Sosa. I need help.
nobody's out there, actually to verify any of it, which is the other problem. And that sucks because,
It sure could have been a home run if Sammy Sosa had had the right information.
yeah,
about
and it could
Chris's
it could
passing.
be case closed on the fact that the witch murdered him. Because like one of my things too is like it's scary because it's like
I can't wait for that legal battle.
if he because like
I didn't kill him, sir. The curse did. I just placed the curse.
well I'm wondering too like okay so if if you got cursed, would you like
I wouldn't think about it ever again. and I'd be
all
fine.
right.
If I got cursed, I would be like, "Oh my lord, I'm avoiding every red flag. Thank God, I'm not
I think
continuing
you would
this."
start to subjectively like analyze your life on a basis of like even red lights.
Dude,
What the fuck? Wow.
If I got cursed, I would be like, "Oh my lord, how did
Well,
I end up at this
what I
point?
guess I
gotta
should say
change my dating preferences."
Is would you hide away and then like
No.
yeah you'd come to like me and or somebody
Dude,
and you'd be
I
like,
wouldn't give. I would
Hey,
tell you.
Pat.
I'd be like, "Dude,
But
some
I-
lady
yeah,
just
yeah,
told
yeah.
me
I
I
got
got
cursed.
cursed," and then I'd live my life until I was 75, sad and
Pat,
die,
I
like
got
every
cursed.
other person.
see if
If
Steven
some random person, if I just disappear and some
if
weird
you're-
shit starts to happen, you should really look into that.
yeah
That's what
or
I would
like you
say.
come to me or something or you'd be like I would want to be around people so that I'm like because the whole thing is like he's
No,
seeing things
no,
in his
no, no.
apartment no
Well, yeah.
he's seeing things in
Right,
his
right, right.
apartment
That once I start seeing things in my apartment,
yeah.
I
and
will
hearing things
I'll be like, "Hi, I need to make an appointment. I seem to be having some sort of audio-visual hallucination. and
Dear
I
Tinder
have
date.
not
Oh
been
my God.
doing
No,
any
no, no.
sort
See,
of."
I would invite Tinder dates over to be like, hey, I need you to sit next
See,
to me.
and that's why we're
it.
different because I'm
That's
not going
it.
to let this exist. I'm going to be like, I am suffering from active psychosis.
I
I,
would- what-
probably should figure
yeah
this
Austin
out.
would deny it tooth and nail
See,
till
but I
it
think
killed
that
him
it could be real. So I'd be like, hey, Tinder date. You need to sit next to me on my
that's-
couch. We're going to watch How
Yeah.
I Met Your Mother on rerun.
if you got
That's
people to
fine.
verify that's one of those things I'm like dude if you went
Am I
and you talked
crazy
to, if you
or-
went to
or-
the cops and you're just like hey do you mind just throwing
Yeah,
me
they're
the
gonna throw you in
drunk
the
take
lily
for like
bin.
4 days because I was supposed to die in 4 days
Yeah, I'm going to go to Kaiser and be like, hey, I'm having a bit of psychosis.
Even if you
Can I
did,
do like a
do you
sleep
wanna
inspection,
die?
see what's happening while I'm asleep,
Would you
see
want
if
to
I'm
die
weirding
in the
out?
fucking drunk tank, seriously?
no
Or what I'd rather die. I'm like, I'm in the presence of someone who's at least going to give me some
you're
comfort.
If
I'd
you're
do it.
seeing things,
Yeah, I'd
wouldn't
go.
you want some sort of like this
If
is
I'm
happening.
seeing things,
No,
we're going to a
if it makes you
psychosis.
feel bad, don't worry. I would let y'all know. I'd be like, hey, y'all, I'm seeing shit. I'm going to the doctor
We're not-
tomorrow. You may
yeah.
not hear
But
from
see,
me for a bit.
but if,
that'd
like-
be
I'm with
it.
him.
I wouldn't be like, I'm going to go get kosher salt for Mr. Higashi, make geometric symbols on my porch, and then I'm going to hide in my fucking tub while I light candles.
But
And
then
then
would
I
you-
would go to Kaiser and be like, hey,
you wouldn't-
I know this is going to cost $4 million, but can I stay here and do a sleep observation for a few days? Because I've been having psychotic
I
incidents.
wouldn't even do
here in
that.
New
Well, see,
Hampshire.
and that's what I mean. Like, so you would have that thing, but you would have those.
Because
like-
I'd assume I was having some sort of
but you would
psychosis
want-
related
see-
to what I've intaken in the past.
And that's the interesting thing, because he went from like being non-believer to having these things happen, and then going straight into that. And I'm thinking that seems a little bit quick for like mass psychosis, or not
So,
mass
hold
psychosis.
on,
like,
wait. Quick question. If you guys were in a specific situation, what would trigger, like, how many examples would you need in your own present life to all of a sudden become a believer, or would you actually think that something was wrong
I would
with
need
you?
to be unable
He-
to move. Like
he would have
I
to be throttled by the
Someone
thing.
would have to be. I would be unable to remove myself from an environment because a paranormal thing was keeping me there. Like if the door was unlocked and I could see through every edge and I still could not
But the
open
force
that door,
was, like, pushing you away?
I would be fucking freaked out.
See,
However,
it takes him all the way till that point.
if a cabinet falls open and a cup falls out, I go, fuck, I put that cup too close to the cabinet door, and then I clean
Right,
it up
so
and I
you
go
use
to bed.
logic.
Yeah.
What about you?
So for me, it would be one, if I started seeing things and started hearing things, I would probably bring in somebody else, because for him, he was
He'd
just
probably
like,
bring in me because then I'd just be like, Pat,
well,
you're going
see,
crazy.
But then that would be the good thing, because like if Austin didn't experience it and I was still experiencing it, I'd be like, it's either, well, actually no, that would still be
if
scary.
I
because
didn't experience it,
because
Pat
I-
would be like, no, it's still spirits, even though I'm just like,
I would be freaking out, because like part of me is like, what happens if they're, within the spirit realm, they can only tap into my subconscious and you're just fine, and so I
no,
just
see,
look like
okay.
a crazy person. So this is why, and here's the thing, there's too many options, and that is why forever and ever I'm always going to think that it errs on the side of the paranormal.
I think that
Please
right
and
there
thank you.
kills me more than anything else. Well, Austin's not experiencing this. That must mean my mind is special, and only they can connect with my
well,
mind.
dude, she
because
didn't-
I'm open to it.
The
I
lady-
That's how a
accept
lot of
the ghosts
paranormal
in.
movies are
That's
portrayed.
why I can understand.
But
them.
That's
She
a lot of
didn't
ready
paranormal
for it.
movies
She
are
didn't
portrayed.
curse
I'm
you,
not
she
thinking
cursed
logically.
me. She
That's
cursed
not logic. That's what they do in the movies anyway. Where they like succumb and they torture some individual person. The rest of everyone else is like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Exactly.
And it's because it's almost like it's all in the head of the one person or something.
But it's I don't really know.
Here's the thing: if it has effects on the real world, why can't it slap me? Either slap me too, bitch, or
But that's
get
what-
over
But
yourself.
they always
That's
like
the thing.
think they need like a supercharger as far like when it comes to paranormal.
They always
like
tell
that,
me you're just not
demons
in tune with the
specifically-
paranormal world.
No,
what does
it's
that
not even
mean?
that. It's like you're not. It's easy to like bring to that particular side. So like if you have someone who has like a traumatic past or like believes in a certain whatever, then you can sit there and fuck with them a lot, and then all of a sudden they'll start getting scared. But like if you show that to the wrong person, like specifically an atheist who's like, I don't believe in God or Jesus or death or
Which he
the
was,
devil.
so
Whatever.
so to speak.
Right.
I
So
think.
like if you sit there and you keep playing with them, they're just like, I put the cup in the wrong place, or
Which is why
whatever.
in the beginning
But
he
you
was
start
like,
fucking with people who are actually like, wait a second, what the fuck is going on here? And then
but
That's the thing.
But that's what doesn't.
that's the easiest target.
He
man.
obviously wasn't quite the same as I would, because at that point, I'm not going to go to Mr. Higashi and buy religious artifacts.
But
I'm going to
he's-
go.
Which
and it took him 2 days. It took him 2 days. So whatever happened within those 2 days really sparked him to
if
be
I
like,
start
whoa.
fucking with your house and I start dropping shit out of your counters, you might forego 1 cup, 2 cups, 3 cups, 5 cups. You'd be like, I really
5
suck
cups,
at
man.
putting my fucking
You're
dishes
just like,
away.
dude,
If it-
oh,
But
dang
if-
it, I gotta go
if-
back to the
all
Home
of a
Depot
sudden
and
shit
pick
starts
me
falling
up
off your
some
counters,
cups.
Dude, if it keeps
Lights-
happening more times, then I'm like, oh my god!
my
And then I'll
maintenance
take
department
all the cups
really
off,
sucks.
and I'll get the level
super
out and go,
glue,
is this
like-
shelf at an angle?
He'll super glue some bubble wrap on the
Yeah,
outside.
what
check
I'm
the angle of the
saying
shelf.
is at some point
He'll
you're what we
literally
consider
go
a
and
hardened
remodel
soul.
his entire kitchen before he believes in ghosts.
You're a hardened soul, right? So like you'd be a person like, yeah, you're not an easy target. Why the fuck would I target you? Like, that's not a fair game. Like, but there's other people who who are fair targets. Not even Pat. I'm talking about, like, other people. Like, super,
Jesse.
like, yeah, Jesse's like super gullible. And I
You
love
can
the guy,
say
but,
the
like,
word ghost and he'll leave.
If all of a sudden Jesse's
did
sitting
kinda
at
wish
home,
that-
apparition.
I did want to have him
well, he
on
posted
this
TikTok
story.
first. He would. I
Do you
did.
remember that? So we had this one time. It was a really funny time.
Oh my
We were
Lord.
talking about
If I'm talking
Ouija
too loud.
boards. We talked about Ouija boards, and at one point there was a Ouija board in like the hall closet in my old house,
Oh my God.
and so we pulled it out, and it was like, it was under a bunch of stuff, but we put it back in there after we were talking about it, and then all of a sudden we're like standing there, and then something shifted in the closet, and we all were like, "Whoa, what the fuck?"
No, he didn't like put it back. Okay, so it's on the top shelf. So Pat pulls it out, shows Jesse, and then puts it back in. Just kind of goes like that.
He's
And then
exaggerating.
maybe
It
4 or
was-
5
Wow,
minutes
for sure.
later, it falls out, and it's only the
Oh,
Ouija board.
no.
Jesse's gone.
Yeah, he was out of there.
Motherfucker's out the front door on the porch. Nah, I ain't staying in here. Nah.
That's what I'm saying. That's what
It
I'm
was a
talking
little.
about.
It was a little creepy too, because they ended up like all leaving, and then I'm just in the house with this possible Ouija board.
But if that shit keeps happening to you,
I have psychosis and I need help.
Now,
No.
I have a question too. Is like if somebody's like, I could put a curse on you, and then you start experiencing actual curse-like symptoms, and you're not expecting it from
What's
your
a curse-like
from
symptom?
yeah, you can't drink
Dr.
3
Pat?
Red Bulls and
I'm
think that you
talking
have
about
Lou
like
Gehrig's disease.
all the little demons
Hearing
running around,
voices and
hearing
seeing dark shapes.
What are you doing in
It
your
sounds
spare
like
time?
something's going wrong up here.
What
I
am I
ought to
doing
go
in
get
your spare
checked
time?
out.
But if you're a healthy individual and you're not expecting that you're gonna be consuming things that are gonna melt your brain
You
into
met a
making
witch
psychosis
in SoCal.
Yeah.
He went there on a
Something's
business
going
trip. He
on.
did some fucking drugs he wasn't accustomed to. Either he met a girl at the bar and he thought she was a witch, or he fabricated the witch because of the drugs. It doesn't
He was
matter.
trying to make connections. He did a ton of shitty coke.
Okay,
he
so
met
we
a
have-
lady
or
at the
meth.
bar.
So Steven is on. It was drugs or supplements that made him go crazy and
Or
die.
a mixture of both. You
All right.
can't
100%
mix your
his
certain
lifestyle,
supplements with
yeah.
particular types of drugs. You're gonna induce psychosis.
Cash money. So that's what Steven thinks.
100%.
What you thinking?
100%. His lifestyle was already kind of strenuous on his body, and then he stressed himself out freaking about this curse for a full week. He's flipping 3 months ago or something in that article. It said it was multiple months before this happened. So he's been freaking out about
Wait,
this
hold on.
curse
What
for
did it say that multiple
The
months was?
article I read said it was months between him dating her and then actually having all this happen.
What are you talking about?
You read that article
I
again.
will read it
It
again.
said it was months. So he's had time to let this dwell, and then he
Definitely was
starts
not months, 'cause
flipping
he literally
about
he
it.
met her on April 11th.
Read the article I read, because it said that it had been a couple months ago, and then she'd left a curse on him.
All right, let's go. It'll be 2 or 3 weeks before King County police can unravel the mysterious death of blah, blah, blah here. Yeah, you find it in there, and then I think that is the article you read, correct? Mm-hmm. All right, good. Yeah, just find it in there, and then I'll...
What's the business trip? They didn't do any further investigation on that?
I mean, I'm assuming...
He had to
like,
go and see if the elevators were boring enough.
something about San Francisco. So I still think that it's like, because all of the other sources are strictly that it was like, it started on April 11th is when he met the woman.
Okay, what are the other sources, though?
The other sources would be Greensboro.com, a lot of articles from the Seattle Times.
through
I
the
have then
menopause.
bedtime stories, which is
Pop those up. I'll read them real quick, silently in the background, and figure out how many times they say several weeks. Because if that's one... Oh, that's weird. Oh, that's very strange. Because that just doesn't seem... I feel like there's more time here than we're being led to believe.
Yeah, here's one. It says, heart failed man who feared curse. This is from May 4th, 1991. Would you care to read it?
Do I need to read it out loud? Or should I
Yeah, just do it out loud, I guess. This is from Greensboro.com, correct?
Heart failed man who feared curse. May 4th, 1991. Updated January 25th, 2015. Does it have what's updated? Does it have
I
that
think it
listed?
should be at the bottom.
Okay.
I think it's all the.
A former Raleigh radio broadcaster found dead in his bathtub in Seattle in April died of a heart failure, according to Washington authorities. The death of Christopher Case,
Say
35,
Raleigh?
had
That's interesting because they said that in what I heard he was from Richmond, Virginia. But
a
anyway,
former Raleigh radio broadcaster.
well,
The death of Christopher Case, 35, had drawn wide interest because he had expressed fear of a witch's curse. The cause of death was acute myocarditis. Sorry. Said Tony Burt, spokesman for the King County Police in Seattle. Officers found his clothed body in the waterless tub April 18th after they were asked to check on him by a woman friend in Fayetteville, Burt said. The woman, whose name is not disclosed, said Case told her in a phone call that he was afraid a witch in San Francisco had put a curse on him. Burt said. There was no sign of a crime, no sign of violence, robbery, or foul play, said Rich Garner, a medical investigator with the King County Medical Examiner's Office. About 10 spent candles and crucifixes were found in the Case's apartment. 10 spent candles and crucifixes. Okay, so if that's what several means, that's 10 weeks.
no, Austin,
Lines of salt had been
Just
poured along the base of the apartment
Shut the
walls.
fuck up.
Another Fayetteville woman, Sammy Sauter, a psychic and teacher who was a friend of Case, said he also told his fears to her.
Now it's interesting that she's.
That's it.
she's
That's
a
all that's
psychic,
in this
though?
article. A psychic?
That's interesting. I didn't know she was a psychic because she was the one who was supposedly saying that he
A
was
psychic
very.
and teacher.
She was saying that. Well, look, Austin, fuck you. Get away from me with your goddamn.
See, now I don't even believe what Sammy's saying because she's a psychic.
But that's the thing. I don't.
Now I'm like, fuck.
But what's weird though is that she was also one to say that he didn't believe in any of that stuff. So that's odd. But so I'm just gonna hold to the fact that I believe that he was murdered by a witch, and that it sucks because there is a lot of uncorroborated evidence that could possibly point to that being more of the case for Christopher Case. And with that, we got 2 skeptical eyes and 1 paranormal guy.
It feels nice to have 2 for that. Normally it's just, we have 3 paranormal eyes and Austin.
Full skeptic over here.